Most people believe manifestation slows down because they are not trying hard enough. More effort, more techniques, more discipline. But what if the delay has nothing to do with effort at all? What if manifestation slows because of a quiet habit you repeat every day? A habit that sounds mature, reasonable, even spiritual. Yet beneath the surface, it keeps telling reality not now. This habit does not look like doubt. It does not feel negative. In fact, it often disguises itself as patience, trust, or realism. The real issue is not what you want. It is where you place yourself in time when you speak about it. Not the words you say to other people, but the internal tone you use, the posture hidden inside your language. Because language is not just communication. Language is calibration. Your nervous system listens to your words as instructions about your current state, and the field responds to your nervous system, not to your vocabulary. This is why you can say all the right things and still create delay. You can sound hopeful while your body stays oriented toward absence. When you say things like, "It's coming," "I'm working toward it," "I'll have it soon," your mind hears optimism, but your body hears not yet. From the nervous system's perspective, these phrases signal distance. They quietly confirm that what you desire is somewhere ahead of you, not here. And the field does not respond emotionally, it responds precisely. The brain does not distinguish between imagined delay and real delay. If your internal language keeps referencing later, someday, soon, your system remains in a state of waiting. Waiting is not neutral. Waiting is suspended readiness. And suspended readiness carries tension, a low, constant hum beneath the surface. That tension becomes part of your signal. From a quantum perspective, this matters deeply. The field does not reorganize around effort. It does not accelerate because of desire alone. It responds to coherence in the present moment. Coherence means your thoughts, emotions, and body are aligned now, not projected forward, not leaning into the future. When your language keeps placing fulfillment ahead of you, you are unconsciously declaring that alignment has not been reached yet. And the field does not rush to complete what your own system has marked as incomplete. This is why manifestation often feels slow, even when you are doing everything right. The issue is not effort. The issue is speaking from separation. Separation does not sound dramatic. It sounds sensible, it sounds humble, it sounds like patience. But energetically, it positions you outside the very state you want life to mirror. Acceleration begins the moment this changes. Not when you force confidence, not when you pretend to believe something you don't feel, but when your language shifts from anticipation to embodiment. This shift has nothing to do with affirmations. It has everything to do with identity. Your nervous system does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you sound like you are already living. The field does not reorganize around requests. It reorganizes around stabilized states. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly. They are not asking differently. They are speaking from a different internal place. Their language carries no tension, no leaning forward, no subtle negotiation with time. They are not waiting for life to arrive. Life responds because nothing inside them signals that it hasn't already begun. Once you see this distinction, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice the future tense, the conditional tone, the almost there posture hidden in your own words, even the quiet ones. In the next part, we'll explore how this habit forms, why the brain reinforces it automatically, and how to shift your language without forcing positivity. Because manifestation does not speed up when you want harder. It speeds up when you stop speaking like you are still waiting. The brain does not experience language as meaning, it experiences language as orientation. And that single misunderstanding is why so many well-intentioned people slow down their own reality without ever realizing it. The real question is not what you want. The real question is where you are standing when you speak. Are you here, or are you subtly angled toward later? Hope feels gentle on the surface. It comforts the mind. But neurologically, hope often keeps the system unresolved. Hope implies movement towards something that has not yet landed. And whenever the brain senses not yet, it keeps the body in preparation. Preparation is not alignment, it is readiness. And readiness carries strain. From a neuroscience perspective, this is crucial. The brain is constantly forecasting the next moment based on internal signals. Language is one of the strongest signals it uses. When your inner dialogue revolves around soon, almost, getting there, the brain continues to predict a future state instead of settling into the present one. That prediction keeps the nervous system lightly activated. Not enough to feel stressed, but enough to never feel finished. Muscles stay subtly engaged. Attention tilts forward without noticing. Breath shifts just enough to signal movement instead of rest. You feel calm. You feel positive, but you do not feel whole. And the field responds to that exact configuration. This is why manifestation can feel delayed even when you are optimistic. Optimism is emotional. Coherence is physiological. Coherence requires completion, not expectation. The brain reinforces this loop automatically. Each time you use future-oriented language, the predictive circuits strengthen. The system learns that fulfillment is always just ahead. Over time, this becomes more than habit. It becomes identity. You are no longer someone experiencing life. You are someone perpetually arriving. And that identity emits a signal of ongoing adjustment. Not instability, just never fully settled. The field mirrors settlement, not desire. This is where confusion begins. You feel patient, you feel trusting. Yet your internal language still carries motion toward what is not here. That motion creates a quiet signal of incompletion. So subtle you rarely notice it, but precise enough for reality to follow. Acceleration cannot occur inside incompletion. This does not mean pretending you already have everything. That only creates internal contradiction. The shift is far more refined than that. It is about removing temporal distance from your language, not forcing certainty, not manufacturing belief. Notice the difference between "I am becoming someone who lives in abundance" and "I live from abundance." The first keeps the system practicing. The second allows the system to settle. The brain responds very differently to each. One sustains rehearsal, the other establishes embodiment. Embodiment is what collapses delay. From a quantum perspective, language participates in the observer effect. How you describe yourself internally shapes how probability organizes around you. If the observer is always positioned just before arrival, probability arranges itself as almost. This is why reality seems to move faster for people who change nothing externally. They stop explaining their progress. They stop narrating the journey. Their language loses urgency. It loses justification. It loses the need to convince. They are no longer orienting toward life. They are residing inside it. When language stops pointing forward, the nervous system unwinds. When the nervous system unwinds, coherence stabilizes. When coherence stabilizes, the field receives a clear signal. Acceleration is not something you create. It is what happens when resistance quietly exits the system. Most people assume resistance comes from fear or doubt. In reality, much of it comes from subtle future orientation, disguised as hope. Reality was never slow. It was following your timing. And the moment your language stops placing fulfillment ahead of you, reality no longer receives instructions to pause. In the next part, we will explore the exact internal shift that removes this delay. Not by sounding more positive, but by sounding complete in a way your nervous system actually recognizes. Because manifestation accelerates not when you speak louder, but when you stop speaking from a place that has not arrived. The shift is not about better sentences, it is about changing the position you are speaking from. Most people try to polish language at the surface, replacing negative phrases with positive ones while keeping the same internal stance. And stance is what the nervous system broadcasts. You can say you trust life while your body is still angled forward. You can declare that everything is working while your system remains braced. Reality does not respond to the sentence. It responds to the posture behind it. The position that slows everything down is not doubt. It is explanation. Explaining why something has not happened yet. Explaining how it will unfold. Explaining what you are doing to make it arrive. Explanation is effort disguised as clarity. It signals that something is still being held together internally. The moment you feel the urge to explain your future, your nervous system is still trying to secure it. From a neurobiological perspective, explanation activates control systems. The brain moves into tracking, justifying, predicting. Those circuits are designed for management, not embodiment. You cannot be fully present while narrating progress toward somewhere else. This is why the language that accelerates manifestation often sounds plain, almost unremarkable. It lacks intensity. It lacks projection. It does not try to persuade anyone, not even yourself. It sounds settled. Instead of, I am manifesting a new phase, the language becomes, I am in a different phase. Instead of, things are about to change, it becomes, things are different now. Instead of, I am learning to trust, it becomes, I trust. These shifts appear minor, but neurologically they are decisive. The brain registers them as completion, not pursuit. Completion tells the nervous system there is nothing to prepare for. Preparation dissolves, tension releases, coherence stabilizes, and coherence is what the field responds to. Another layer of delay hides inside urgency. Urgency does not always sound anxious. Sometimes it sounds motivated, sometimes it sounds passionate, sometimes it sounds inspired, but urgency always carries the same message. Something must arrive soon for the system to feel okay. Aligned language does not negotiate with time. This is why people who are truly aligned speak more slowly, with fewer words, with less emotional charge. Their language does not pull the future closer. It anchors the present more deeply. And the deeper the present is anchored, the faster reality reorganizes around it. This confuses the mind. The mind assumes speed comes from momentum. In manifestation, speed comes from stability. Instability requires buffering. Stability allows immediate response. From a quantum perspective, when language stops fragmenting time, probability collapses with less resistance. There are fewer mixed signals. The observer is no longer oscillating between now and later. Reality does not need to average contradictory instructions. It receives one clear orientation. When this shift settles, something interesting happens. You stop talking about your desires altogether. Not because you gave up, but because nothing needs to be managed verbally. The desire has already been digested emotionally. This is why silence often precedes acceleration. Silence does not mean inactivity. It means the internal dialogue has resolved. And when dialogue resolves, the nervous system enters a receptive state. Reception is not passivity, it is readiness without tension. This is the level where reality begins to move toward you. Opportunities surface without pursuit. People offer ideas without prompting. Circumstances rearrange without planning. And none of it feels dramatic, because internally the state already feels familiar. This is when manifestation stops feeling mystical and starts feeling structural. Nothing magical changed. You stop narrating distance. And once distance disappears from your language, the field has no reason to keep it in your experience. In the next part, we will look at how to practice this shift daily without monitoring yourself. Because constant self-correction reintroduces effort, and effort immediately slows the signal again. Acceleration does not come from control, it comes from integration. This practice is not about catching every future-oriented word. That only creates tension. The practice is noticing what your body does after you speak. The nervous system gives feedback instantly. Language that accelerates feels settling. Language that delays feels tightening. You do not need to analyze the sentence. You only need to sense the state it leaves behind. When language is aligned, there is a quiet sense of completion afterward. Not excitement, not relief. Just the feeling that nothing else needs to be added. When language slips back into waiting, there is a subtle aftertaste of restlessness. And that sensation tells you everything you need to know. That faint sense that something still needs to happen, that is the signal. From a neurobiological perspective, this works because the brain learns through association, not instruction. Each time you speak from a settled place and feel the body soften afterward, the nervous system records that pairing. State, language, safety. Over time, this pairing becomes automatic. You stop thinking about how you speak. You simply speak from where you are. This is embodiment. The most common mistake is trying to sound aligned. Alignment is not a performance. It is a baseline. And baselines are built through repetition without pressure. The less you try to get it right, the faster it stabilizes. This is why silence becomes important in this phase. Not forced silence, not discipline. A natural reduction of internal commentary. When you stop narrating your progress, the nervous system stops preparing for evaluation. There is nothing to prove, so there is nothing to brace for. Even thought itself begins to change texture. Fewer, slower, more neutral, not empty, just efficient. Thought returns to its proper role, responding, not managing. When language slips back into delay, it usually happens during uncertainty. A pause, a quiet stretch, a moment where reality does not immediately reflect back. The old reflex is to explain, to justify, to reassure yourself with words. That reflex is what dissolves here. Instead of correcting the language, you allow the moment to remain unfinished without commentary. This is not avoidance, it is reprogramming. The nervous system learns that incompletion does not require narration. It learns that silence is safe, and once silence becomes safe, language reorganizes itself around presence. From a quantum perspective, this is essential. The observer effect is strongest when observation is neutral. The moment you emotionally track outcomes, probability distorts. When observation relaxes, probability organizes cleanly. This is why acceleration often arrives right after people stop doing the work. They did not lose alignment. They stopped interfering. As this integration deepens, time begins to feel different. Days feel fuller, yet shorter. Events cluster. Resolutions appear without delay. Not because you asked reality to move faster, but because you stopped instructing it to slow down. This is also when manifestation stops feeling personal. You are no longer manifesting against life or from life. You are participating in it. Movement becomes mutual. The final sign that this shift is stabilizing is simple. You stop wondering if you are doing it right. That question only exists when alignment is fragile. When alignment stabilizes, the question dissolves. You do not remember to speak differently. You simply no longer speak from waiting. And once waiting exits your language, it exits your experience. At this stage, something becomes clear. Manifestation was never about making reality respond faster. It was about removing the internal signals that asked reality to pause. This is the integration point where language, identity, and the nervous system converge into one state. Language is not separate from identity. The way you speak reveals where you locate yourself in the timeline of your life. When language leans forward, identity leans forward. When language settles, identity stabilizes. And identity is what the field responds to. Neurologically, identity is not a belief. It is not an affirmation. It is the emotional and physiological posture you return to most often. When that posture signals incompletion, reality mirrors incompletion. When it signals stability, reality reorganizes accordingly. This is why manifestation accelerates when identity shifts quietly, not when effort increases. The nervous system acts as the gatekeeper. It determines whether a state is safe enough to remain in. If your language consistently suggests fulfillment exists later, the system never fully settles. It stays alert, slightly forward, subtly engaged. That engagement fragments coherence. When language no longer positions fulfillment in the future, the nervous system receives permission to relax. And relaxation is not disengagement. It is coherence. Coherence is when thought, emotion, and physiology broadcast the same message. Nothing contradicts, nothing pulls in a different direction. The field receives one unified signal, and when the signal is unified, there is nothing left to delay. This is where acceleration becomes inevitable. From a quantum perspective, probability organizes cleanly when the observer is stable. Instability in the observer creates fluctuation in outcomes. Stability removes friction. The field does not respond to effort, it reflects consistency. This is why people who experience sudden shifts often struggle to explain how it happened. They did not add a new method. They did not push harder. They stopped doing something familiar. They stopped narrating separation. They stopped rehearsing arrival. They stopped waiting. Waiting was the delay. When waiting dissolves internally, time reorganizes externally. Events begin to cluster. Responses arrive with less lag. Movement feels smooth instead of strained. And because there is no emotional charge around outcomes, nothing feels overwhelming or destabilizing. The system is already ready to receive. This readiness is not built through discipline. It emerges naturally when identity is no longer anchored in the future. You are no longer becoming someone. You are someone, and that shift changes everything. This is also why acceleration becomes sustainable at this level. There is no burnout, no emotional spike followed by collapse. Nothing is being forced. Nothing requires recovery. Reality is not being pushed to comply. It is responding to coherence. As this integration completes, manifestation stops feeling personal. It is no longer my desire versus reality. It becomes participation. You move with life instead of toward it. The clearest sign that this shift is real is subtle. You stop trying to protect it. There is no fear of losing alignment, no urgency to maintain the state. You trust it because it feels natural. This is embodiment. This is the point where language simplifies, identity quiets, and reality becomes responsive. Not because you learned a better technique, but because you stopped sending mixed signals. At this stage, there is nothing new to add, and that absence of effort is the confirmation. Acceleration has already begun. When manifestation truly speeds up, it does not feel like discovery. It feels like remembering. You are not learning a secret. You are releasing a pattern that was quietly instructing reality to hold back. This is the final integration. Acceleration is not something you chase. It is something that occurs naturally when the system no longer speaks from lack, distance, or anticipation. When language settles into presence, the nervous system stabilizes. When the nervous system stabilizes, identity stops fragmenting across time. And when identity stabilizes, the field responds without delay. Nothing here required force. Nothing here required discipline. Nothing here required belief. It required coherence. This is why the shift lasts. You are not managing your thoughts. You are not correcting yourself. You are not performing alignment. You are living from it. And because it feels natural, it sustains itself. Life continues to move, but it no longer moves away from you. Challenges will still appear, but they no longer pull you back into waiting. Even when things slow down externally, you remain steady. Your language stays grounded. Your body stays settled. Your sense of self stays present. This is when acceleration becomes permanent. From here, manifestation no longer feels like something you initiate. It feels like something that unfolds naturally as a consequence of how you exist. You stop measuring progress. You stop checking for confirmation. You stop asking whether you are aligned. You already are. This is also where patience transforms. It no longer feels like waiting. It feels like availability. You are not holding your breath for reality to shift. You are breathing from within a version of yourself that already knows it will. And that knowing is not mental. It is embodied. It lives in the way you move, in the way you speak, in the way your nervous system stays regulated even when circumstances fluctuate. From this place, manifestation is no longer personal. It is no longer about desire versus reality. It becomes participation. You are no longer moving toward life. You are moving with it. And because there is no strain in this movement, nothing needs to be protected. There is no fear of losing alignment, no urgency to maintain a state. What feels natural does not require guarding. Reality responds because coherence is stable, not because effort is applied. Nothing here was forced. Nothing here was managed. Nothing here was controlled. Acceleration did not begin because something was added. It began because something ended. The moment language stopped speaking from distance, reality stopped receiving instructions to wait. It did not rush. It did not resist. It simply responded.